My 28M brother, Mark, 26M, used to date my fiancé, Jin, 26F, a year ago. For context, they dated back in August 2022. They were only together for a month before he broke things off with her because he was bored of being in a relationship and never really wanted to settle down anyway. At the time they were dating, I was in a different state, so I had no idea he even had a girlfriend, and I had no idea who Jin was until I met her. Jin and I met at a bar when I moved back in October and hit it off really well. She was easily the most beautiful and intelligent woman I ever met, and we met up a few times more before we made it official. Fast forward to December, and I finally bring her up to my family and propose them meeting her at Christmas. They knew I was in a relationship, but I'm not the most open about my personal life, so I kept details about her to a minimum until I knew how serious we really were. My parents asked to see pictures, and they started passing my phone around the dinner table. Mark saw it and blew up calling me a shit brother for dating his ex-girlfriend, and he demanded I break it off with her. I refused. When I asked Jin about it, she confirmed they dated and gave me the details about their breakup. It took a few weeks, but eventually Mark stopped bringing up me dating his ex, and I thought he was over it. On Jin's birthday this year, I took her out to a fancy dinner with both of our families and her closest friends, and I asked her to marry me. Mark flipped once again and blew up about me proposing to her, which I and my sisters immediately shut down. The incident happened this past weekend. Mark had been pretty quiet about the whole thing for the last 2 months. I didn't see him much and figured he went low contact with me, which I had no problem with. Then he invited me and Jin for family dinner at his apartment with my parents and sisters. I thought it was weird, but my parents and sisters were also going, so we agreed to go. The dinner was nice, nothing too fancy, and we moved to the living room to talk. About 30 minutes into normal conversation, Mark stood up and told us he had an announcement. He made a long speech about being happy to have his family around for his big moment, then got on one knee and pulled out this cheap ring while asking Jin to marry him. Jin was confused and obviously uncomfortable and demanded that he put it away and stand up. My dad tried to make a grab for Mark, but I got to him first and punched him. I won't repeat most of it, mostly because I was too angry to even listen most of it, but he said something along the lines of wanting to show me that Jin wasn't really into me and just wanted to get back at him. Before it could get worse, my parents rushed me out and promised to talk to him. It's been a few days since it happened, and I'm still pissed off. I don't know what to do at this point. I'm scared Jin might have second thoughts marrying me because of this. Any advice? Edit. First, thanks for reading and responding. I've been reading the comments between last night and this morning, and valid points were made. There isn't an update since the only people I've spoken to since that dinner is Jin and my little sister. I want to clarify a few things that I saw in the comments. Jin and I are newly engaged. It was one of those feelings where we both knew we were in it for the long run. As fast as it is, I'm sure about her. When we met, I was the one who approached her, not the other way around. Whether she knew or had suspicions of us being related, I don't know. I asked after finding out they dated, and she says she had no idea. I didn't have a reason to doubt that, but I can admit this. Seemingly, overreaction on Mark's part does raise red flags. I had no idea she and Mark dated when I met her. Mark and I aren't close at all. We used to be, but as we grew up we drifted and talked less and less. Before I moved back, we didn't really speak much aside from special days like his or my birthday. Jin knew of my family, but not much until I decided I was ready to introduce them to her. When she and Mark met, again, I didn't get a sense of any residual feelings on either part. She didn't treat him like a stranger, but she also wasn't overly affectionate with him either. I was told this was a relationship that lasted a month. I didn't think I needed permission from Mark to ask her to marry me, but maybe that was wrong of me. I'm not sure. That being said, I plan to talk to Mark this weekend to lay everything out on the table and figure out what's up. I never asked for his side of their relationship, which is my fault for not doing my due diligence. If anything major or enlightening happens, I'll update. But for now, that's all I have. Relevant comments. I think it's clear that your brother doesn't even like nor want Jin. He doesn't even see her as human. He sees her as an object, a toy that he didn't want, but seeing someone else with it makes him go, no, mine, like a fucking child. So he's acting out and trying to drive a wedge between y'all in order to get his way. If he liked her, he would care about how she feels. If he liked her, he'd want her to be happy. He doesn't like her. So forget the tantrum he's trying to pull and block him. No need to entertain that SHD. Wow, he's that ex. It sounds like your brother needs more time away from Jin before he can be a normal acquaintance/FBL. You and Jin should go LC for at least 6 to 1 Y to ensure he moves on properly. I think he has moved on. They dated a month, and he broke up with her. He doesn't see her as a person, but he puts down the toy he doesn't want, and now someone else is touching it, so he is having a tantrum. Block your brother out of your life for good. That's the only way you and your fiancé will be able to live peacefully. Don't listen to his family BS if anyone tries to give it to you. Thankfully, I haven't heard that his family shit much aside from my mom and a few aunts. They know me well enough to know our relationship isn't enough for me to put up with his disrespect, especially towards my fiancé. They'd be wasting their breath. He said something along the lines of wanting to show me that Jin wasn't really into me and just wanted to get back at him. LOL, your brother's a narcissist. Crazy. Your brother sounds like a petulant child if your girlfriend ends up going back to that over you, which going by what you've said I'd say is highly unlikely, then you'd have dodged a massive bullet. No advice from me, but I really hope you got a good shot in. I can't imagine the narcissism in his brain to think she must be obsessed with him, and that she couldn't possibly have fallen in love with another man. Sure, it's awkward for the initial realization for her that you guys are brothers, and for you guys that you're dating his ex. But you're adults, and nobody knew prior to your relationship beginning. Best of luck with the whole ordeal. Something about this story is actually fishy. She didn't put 2 and 2 together when she learned your last name? How long have you guys been together? I'm not saying anything your brother has done is right, but I gotta be honest, I thought more people would think that this girl intentionally meet you and knew you were brothers. I mean, do you guys not look similar at all? This is a weird story and I feel like there's more to it. As well. Getting engaged after less than a year of dating is already unusual into your brother's ex. Though I would hardly call her an ex after 1 month of dating. I hope OP is really in love with this girl and not just in love with the idea of pulling one over on his brother. Unless he has a pretty rare/unique last name, I don't think most people would put 2 plus 2 together based off of that. I have a super common last name. I know about 5 people I'm not related to that have the same last name as mine. The looking similar thing can also just be chalked up to her having a type, appearance-wise. I think you and Jin are moving ridiculously quickly even aside from the whole "she's your brother's ex" thing. You got engaged after knowing her less than a year. You still haven't even spent an entire year with her yet. What's the rush? Why are you trying to lock her down before you really know her? And why is she agreeing to this instead of seeing the red flags? You both need to slow down. A woman who wants to marry you isn't going to back away from it over a crazy brother she probably doesn't like much anyway, and with who you'll probably go in C/LC anyway. Only your own actions can do that. So handle it as an adult and don't engage your infantile brother at his level. Apologize to her and set up a nice date to wash off the stench. Honestly, even if Jin decides that she doesn't want to deal with your brother for the rest of her life and breaks up with you, you need to cut your brother out of your life. He's not a good person, and he's treating Jin like she's a toy he put down, but doesn't want any of the other toddlers playing with either. Knowing he had an issue with this, and it's not uncommon for a sibling to have issues with another sibling dating someone they dated, you asked her to marry you in front of him with no warning to him of what you were doing? He sucks too because they dated for a month, which is not that long. I also wonder if there is missing info here. Did he tell you the reasons he broke up with her, or you heard it from her? Regardless, he did break up with her. You didn't know they dated when you met her, and he is acting like it's all about him and his needs.